So guys, back in 2002, a low volume, low profit manufacturer called Porsche decided to take a big and risky move and make a car that they'd never made before. And that was a big sporty SUV called the Cayenne. And it was of course met with resistance from the market, but now 2 decades almost later, it is essentially a cornerstone of this company's profit and it's allowed them to make some crazy cars thanks to that profit, like the 918 Spyder Hypercar. Speaking of which, it's been 10 years since this car really set the direction that Porsche would take with every single one of their hybrids, including our car today, which marries both of these cars, and that's the Cayenne SE hybrid that we're testing today. The new Cayenne sees a huge design update on the outside, but an even bigger one on the inside with an all-new front dashboard and driver display. But beyond that, the hybrid system and the engines have seen such a big upgrade that it's going to be a massively better car to live with, and that's what we want to see today. How much improved is this new Cayenne? And today we're going to check out this, the new Cayenne SE hybrid, and take it for a first drive. So today's episode is sponsored by Manscaped, and the holiday season is here, so it's time to gift yourself or someone you love the best grooming package you can find. This is the 5.0 Ultra. This is the brand new lawnmower 5.0 Ultra electric trimmer, and this has been redesigned compared to the last one. Now we've got a brand new trimming head with wider and rounder teeth, and of course it has the usual skin-safe technology that will help get rid of the majority of the hair. And for those of you who are traveling over the holidays, it's got this fantastic feature where you can lock the blade so it doesn't turn on while it's sitting in your bag, which is super useful. But the story doesn't end there. They've got a new head you can put on, which is the foil shaving head, and this helps cut out the finest hair to get the most sleek and bare look possible. The foil blade 2 features skin-safe technology, and the great thing is they're so easy to interchange. You just pop one off and pop the other on. It literally takes seconds. The other great thing is now you get a new LED light where you can change the temperature of the light, which helps highlight different types of skin tones, which is really thoughtful of them. And if you're not used to Manscaped like a lot of us are, you'll love features like the USB-C charging port instead of another silly wire. You've got the battery indicator and the fact that this thing is waterproof as well. And I couldn't believe that they're actually throwing in their amazing weed whacker in this as well, which is their nose and ear trimmer, again with skin-safe technology. And if that wasn't enough, they're even giving the crop preserver and the crop soother. You also get 2 free gifts. One is their boxer shorts, and the best gift is the upgraded travel bag, the Shed 2.0, where you can fit all of this in. So guys, this holiday season, head over to manscaped.com and gift yourself or someone special the ultimate male grooming package. So that's using the code RBR on manscaped.com for 20% off, plus the free gifts, free international shipping. So that's RBR at manscaped.com. And trust me, by the time you're done, you'll be singing Jingle Balls. Huge thanks guys for supporting our regular sponsors. Now back to the episode. So guys, new Cayenne, big facelift. You compare it to the previous one, then you come back to this. The old one really does look quite soft, whereas this has got such sharp lines in the bonnet, and now the new more arched wings that are quite obvious, gives the car quite a nice muscular stance. And I think especially your front mouth here, which is very aggressive with the very large intakes. I'll come back to the lights. And then your rear, where the diffuser has been broken up even more, a lot more like Macan. I look at this and it reminds me in the best ways of Macan. So it kind of looks like a smaller SUV than it is, which is great because generally it's lighter than all its rivals as well. The best part though of the design, I think, are the new HD matrix lights, which have got 32,000 pixels per bulb. And essentially in real life what this does is it doesn't dazzle other road users as much. It kind of blots them out in a much more accurate way, and it lights the road for you in a much better way as well. And they look fantastic, particularly in these tinted lights that we have on today's car. You also have the lovely DLRs at the bottom that are very sharp. The lights look fantastic with this new 3D look, matching other Porsches in recent times. Now in terms of changes under the skin, let's first start with suspension, where we've got a standard PASM steel-based suspension with a 2-valve system that essentially helps the car be really quite comfortable and dynamic. But you can go a stage beyond this in something that comes standard in the turbos called an air suspension adaptive system, which also has 2 chambers alongside the 2 valves. Again, it's the same principle of even more comfort and even more dynamism on both sides. So you really get to have your cake and eat it with that particular system. And as I said, these come standard on the turbo e-hybrid models, or you can option them in your Cayenne S. Additionally, you can still option Porsche torque vectoring, Porsche dynamic chassis control, and the rear wheel steering as well. What's really interesting is that the car now has something that you often see in EVs, which is an automatic air filtration system to keep pollutants out of the interior. It can do things like automatically detect when you're about to go into a tunnel and then stop those harmful bacteria coming into the car, which again is quite cool. But the big thing that's changed here, or the big benefit to us road drivers, are the engines and the hybrid systems, how much they've improved, how the lineup is so much better now. And I think the best place to start is the Cayenne S, which used to be a V6, and it is now a glorious V8, just like you'd see in the GTS and the turbos. This is now up to 474 brake horsepower, so significantly more powerful than the previous V6 from this reworked engine, and it's obviously going to bring a lot more emotion to the table. There is still a V6 entry-level car below this, which is up to now 350 brake, so again, a little bit more, still more improved, and that car serves the basis for your first hybrid model. Speaking of the hybrids, this is our Cayenne SE hybrid, the car that we are testing today, and it's the midpoint in between the base model and the turbo e-hybrid that we last tested on RBR. This gets an updated reworked 3-litre V6 with 353 brake horsepower just from the V6 and around 170 plus from the new electric engine, together making 519 brake horsepower total, 750 Newton meters of torque, and a 0 to 60 of around about 4.5 seconds. That's a massive increase over the last car, which only had around about 460 brake horsepower. And the other massive difference is that our new car has electric range of up to around about 90 kilometers in town, which is a massive increase over the last car that had around 40 kilometers only. And you can thank the new 25.9 kilowatt bigger battery for that. That battery charges up to full in 2.5 hours if you've used all of it as well, thanks to the 11 kilowatt onboard charger. But generally speaking, you're kind of having your cake and eating it here. You've got more power, you've got a lot more electric range, and frankly a weight that's quite similar to standard combustion cars of other manufacturers at just around about 2.5 tons. So a pretty amazing job on these hybrids by Porsche. All of this is thanks to this new electric engine in the car that is able to recuperate up to 88 kilowatts as low as 2 kilometers per hour when you're driving, which is a massive increase over the last car that was up to 14 kilometers per hour. And of course, this new electric engine allows for that extra power that we're getting out of the car as well. Above this car sits our turbo e-hybrid. As I said, do check my full video on that and the GT package version driving on the road. This car replaces that V6 with their awesome V8 in the same hybrid system with the battery, producing 739 brake horsepower and like 950 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty incredible, and you'll see what that car is like. It also gets a GT package for the territories that don't get the Turbo GT, which is such a nice way for Porsche to get around regulations and give us an exciting car. So do check that video out, you're really going to enjoy it. The nice thing about this Cayenne, it's really spec dependent. It can look wildly different depending on what you choose, whether you're choosing more black plastic on the car or more body colored bits. The wheels are all wildly different as well. You can like color in your front air intakes, or you can go the other way. Of course, you've got SUV and coupe. The nice thing about the coupe is that you can actually spec up a lightweight package that shaves off around 33 kg, as we had previously in the GTS coupe. So again, that's something that you can choose for this car. Now, while the changes outside massive and the changes in the engines are massive as well, the changes in the interior are probably just as big. Let's go inside and check that out before we go for a drive. So, new interior of Cayenne, massive difference, isn't it? Look at this. It is very, very much Taycan inspired in a lot of ways. There's some things here and there that I think are 918 inspired. Before I dive into that, let's show you what the old one looked like in this exact same position, and now you see the new one, and you see like the big changes come kind of in the areas that interact with the driver. It's actually, you look at these screens and you kind of think, is this getting tacky when you're looking at the press photos? But when you sit in these cars, they're so well built. They just feel like, it feels like you're sitting in a tank. Like there is no creaking or nothing anywhere. And I want to show you around from my perspective because I think you'll get a better appreciation of what this looks like. By the way, I don't know what's going on with the spec here. Is it Dubai spec? Is it like, you know, Luton drug dealer spec? I don't know what's going on in here, but it is wacky as hell with this aubergine with gold trim stuff. Anyway, let's have a look. So here's your first person view of the new Cayenne. You can really see that dashboard. So you've got your curved driver's display, which looks really nice and is really quite well set inside that enclave. I think it's done better than it was in Taycan. I quite like that, which obviously sits next to your typical optional Porsche Sports Chrono clock. And then you've got the 12 point something inch screen on this side, 12.3 inch, I believe, which mimics the new system that you find in the Taycan as well with the colored icon. So all of that is great. You've got nice big touch points in this car. So when you're driving, it's safer than usual. You know, most other manufacturers often have small little buttons here and there, but the touch points are pretty decent in the Porsche ones for you to kind of navigate around. So that's good. It's all nice and clear. And of course you can customize the screen as you like. The other thing you've got, which is also from Taycan, is a screen on this side. Now you're thinking there's nothing there, but this has actually got a film on here to stop the driver from looking at it. So when I move this here, you can then see you've actually got your screen in there. And again, it uses similar types of apps, video for example, that you can watch on there. You can control the music and other elements of the car. I don't find these passenger screens to be that useful, but if you want one, it's in the Cayenne now as an available option. Now I'm more interested in fact in the driver zone because it's the first time we've gone full digital on a car other than the Taycan, and they've really updated this quite a lot. So here you've got your standard type of display where you've got the configurable two-side dials on each side of this, as you would find in Taycan as well. But with Cayenne, they've gone a step further. Now there's a ton more screens and designs here. For example, if we go right to the bottom, you've got a completely understated one here, which has only got your power meter in the middle and a few other essential things. We go up, and then you've got night view assist in the middle with then your two dials that are again configurable. We go up again, and you've got your full navigation screen, which is done really quite nicely, I think. That's a good job. One more stage up, and you get again the full screen navigation, but with more information. So your two dials on the side that are configurable, and then you get the assistant screen, and then you can see on this standard screen the dial is so much nicer than when they did it with the Taycan. It's got like these little rings in there. It looks a bit more kind of skeuomorphic in its design. I really quite like that. I think it's a better job than what Taycan had. And you get another option which I love, which is this one, which is very, very kind of 911-esque with your 5 dials. So that's great. A lot more configurability in the digital side, but they haven't gone kind of full crazy on design like Mercedes do with the type of designs that they have. This is very much understated and minimalistic, as you would expect of a Porsche. So they kind of stayed true to their brand in that way. When I mentioned things that were similar to 918 Spyder, the first is this. Like we have in the Taycan, they've moved your gear selector on this side for ease of use. I personally liked it here because I like having a proper gear stick, but it's gone now. It's gone over there, and it kind of matches the original hybrid, which is fine. You got more storage space here because of that double cup holder, a deep storage area here. We've got phone charging system here, which is cooled actually, and actually charges at a decent speed. And then you've got a couple of USB-Cs, so that's nice to see. And then a big change here in the middle, you see these little nibs for our climate control, very much like what we found in 911. So being brought across to these cars now, and then these kind of touch operated buttons that we've seen used in Taycan and other cars as well. I like the little volume control as well, which is nice. So I'm glad they still have some buttons in here. The vent design, again, very 911, isn't it, in that way, but a nice physical vent. The rear is nice as well. We've got these rear entertainment screens, and on here you can choose either like using HDMI, logging on to Netflix, or connecting with your phone. It's of course nice and spacious in the back, as you would imagine, really comfortable. We've got the big panoramic roof here as well that extends all the way in the Cayenne, which is lovely. Things like rear blinds on our windows is a nice luxury addition as well. And the boot is actually not bad for a big hybrid car as well. So as we open the boot, as you can see, it's not bad for a big hybrid car. You know, there's no extreme bulge of a battery area here. It is a little bit raised, and you know, the normal Cayenne goes down a lot further, but that is pretty decent for, you know, usable daily space, so pretty good. In terms of trims, like I said, it's a bit weird in this car. You've got matte carbon, gold, this kind of aubergine color. It's all a little bit strange, but as you know with Porsche, you can spec these things however you like. You don't need to go for this. You know, this is just an example of how weird you can go should you want to go that weird. Apparently Apple CarPlay has been updated as well to bring in more features from CarPlay. I haven't been able to find that yet on this first drive. I don't know what extra features have been added, but apparently Porsche are the first to do it. And finally, you've got a new start-stop button on this side. So that's it. Now we're going to drive the SE Hybrid, see what this V6 is like. So let's go out and see what this V6 is like to live with on a first drive. I'll tell you what, guys. Listen to that. That sounds nice. I came into this, as you do, coming from Turbo E-Hybrid V8 with GT package, thinking, oh, this is going to be a bit boring. But this is really quite surprised me. You know what, it's been a long time since I've sat in a nice V6. That's probably what it is. I've forgotten how nice they are in terms of, you know, audible pleasure. Too many inline sixes these days, not enough V6s. I like it. I like it. It's got good emotion, and this is just your midpoint hybrid. Very impressive. Probably the least important topic on a car like this, emotion, because that's not what most buyers of Cayenne SE Hybrid will be about, but most Porsche buyers are about that, so I do think it's a relevant topic. I like it. It's a very responsive powertrain. As you can imagine, you've got your V6 with 350 plus brake horsepower, the hybrid system alongside that with another 170 odd, and together they make a good pairing. And like I found with Turbo E-Hybrid with the V8, this doesn't feel like it's trying to be an EV. It's still got that progressive power delivery of a normal combustion engine. So it's not like you bunny hop down the road, you know, as soon as you touch the accelerator. It is very responsive, but it's not irksome like often EVs are, because it's just too much power too quickly, too much responsiveness. A bit of, you know, progressiveness is nice when it comes to smooth driving, be that fast or slow, I think. And this, of course, we're in sport mode at the moment. If we shift the car into hybrid, the cool thing about hybrid is when you're using it in town, it will maintain your battery charge where it is, which is kind of what you want. And if you do then end up using it, for example, if we shift now into e-power mode, where the combustion engine cuts off completely and it's essentially a Taycan type of feeling that you get from this car, and then you're using the e-power full electric in the city, when you get into the urban environment in hybrid, it will begin to recoup that energy up to 80%, which is absolutely perfect, because when you think about it, you want to be using the e-power in the cities, and then when you're doing motorway driving, you want to be having the use of the combustion engine as well. And during that time, this will charge up, again, thanks to that system that has 88 kilowatt recharging ability. That's very impressive, and all the way down to speeds of up to 2 kilometers per hour, which is absolute aces compared to the previous car. Then the other trick of this hybrid system, as we discussed, is the actual range that you get from the electric system, which is up to 90 kilometers in this car. And we saw in the e-turbo we had up showing at least 70 plus on there, so I don't doubt that this car in real world will get up to, you know, up to 80, 90 probably in real world usage, which again is a lot. If you want to use this in town, that's a significant amount. Now it's a nice and comfortable SUV this. There is a bit of road noise going on. You can feel the texture of the road. It does very much still feels quite similar to what Turbo E-Hybrid felt like, actually. But that was not an uncomfortable car. You were just aware that this is a sporty SUV. The other thing that they've added here on the left is a toggle for your cruise control, self-driving, etc., adaptive cruise control. That's got a bit more options in it in terms of driver assistance. So it's kind of a revised version of what we had before with Taycan. So for example, I can set adaptive cruise control on, and I can even switch off lane assist on this toggle, which is so great. How often do us petrol heads get into cars and we hate having lane assist interfering with us when we're driving? Within this car, you can literally turn it off from the lever, which I really like. Now we're in hybrid auto on the motorway. It's so quiet in here. The suspension is perfect. This is that breadth of ability of this car that we're seeing, being really comfortable when it needs to be, or then sharpening up later as we drive faster. And I can't really hear the engine now, so it's nice and quiet. This is going to be a really nice car to live with, I think. I'm particularly impressed with the fact that it has that much range. And you compare it to a combustion car from another rival, and the fact that that is so close to those in terms of weight, despite having a huge battery in it, should really show you what a good job Porsche does, just generally on their cars, and trying to keep them as sporty as possible. That's the soul of a Porsche, isn't it? To be sporty. And I'm glad that they've not lost sight of that, despite coming into the world of SUVs and saloons. So guys, now we're going to get into Sport Plus, just to get an idea of what this car feels like going faster. Gearbox is good, it's the same 8-speed Tiptronic S that you get in the turbo as well. And unsurprisingly, with a Porsche, the gear shift changes are not that different to your high-level performance model, if different at all. In fact, I think it's essentially the same. So you've got this really nice V6 hybrid setup with a gearbox that's, you know, behaving well as well. And frankly speaking, the suspension is, you can really see that breadth of ability now. There's hardly any body roll. It's really acquitting itself well on an exaggerated turn like this, and a nice bit of power. It's not like it doesn't feel like a super powerful SUV when you put your foot down. It's very responsive and it sounds very nice. But the turbo, if you want power, the turbo is the one to go for. This is, it's still pretty decent, it sounds good, but it hasn't got the maniacal speed of that car. Sport Plus probably overkill in this car. Sport is fine. It's kind of the midpoint, and this whole car kind of feels like a really good midpoint. You've got all that hybrid benefit of the electric range, which I do think is important in this day and age. I would absolutely be using the e-power in cities and then using the combustion engine when I want to drive a bit more excitedly or on motorways. But it's got enough power to remain exciting in those situations, and the engine is nice and emotional, as the V6 as well. Yeah, it's a really, really nice midpoint, and I think this is the one that's probably going to sell the most. Not only will you get your company car tax benefits, etc., you can make use of the inherent EV benefits thanks to this new electrical engine as well. I would actually be very happy with this car to live with as a daily. It's probably, taking emotion of loving V8s out of it for a moment, it's probably the sensible option. While you've still got a good amount of emotion, it's a car that's going to cost a lot less than the turbo, but keep you still very happy, I think. And the nice thing, like we said about Cayenne, you can make them look really exciting. I really reckon jump on the configurator and you will be surprised just how cool you can make even just a normal Cayenne or a Cayenne S or one of these SE hybrids look. There's a lot of options still available on Porsche, unlike their rivals, and you can make them look really special in your own personal taste, or, you know, like this. So guys, that was our first drive of this really impressive Cayenne SE hybrid. I'm still waiting for the day where I drive a Porsche that's not phenomenal in some way or another. This is just a daily hybrid SUV, and it manages to put a smile on your face. It's as heavy as your typical combustion cars from other manufacturers, and it looks a damn sight better than it did 4 years ago as well. So yeah, big thumbs up. Excited to drive one of these again. We'll do an extended drive on one in the future. If you have enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe to RBR. As always, really, really appreciate that, and I'll see you guys next time.